Newsmax TV, JoePags.com, iHeartRadio 2. It is the Joe Pags Show. Really pleased to have the junior senator from the great state of Texas, Republican Ted Cruz, on the line. Ted, how are you?
Joe, my friend, great to be with you.
It's always a pleasure. We've got a lot going on legislatively today that we're going to get to momentarily. I would be remiss if I didn't start where I need to start, and that's July 20th. I'm in Cleveland. You are too. And we're watching a masterful speech. I'm loving everything that you're saying up there on stage. And I don't have to tell you, you didn't say the one thing a lot of people wanted to hear you say. Wondering first and foremost, how much thought went into not giving the endorsement or support for Trump right then? And were you surprised by the reaction, or did you expect it?
Well, a lot of thought went into it. I was surprised by the reaction because the speech was very much designed. My hope was that it would bring people together, that it would lay out a path for this is how we unite after a very tough primary.
Yeah.
And this is how we win in November. And in particular, what I said is I addressed conservatives directly, and I said, please do not stay home in November.
Yeah.
Come out and vote. Vote your conscience, put up and down the ticket for candidates you trust to defend freedom and defend the Constitution. And that is very much the test that I'm applying, that I think voters should apply. And what I was hoping to do was also lay out a path to Donald Trump and the Trump campaign. This is how you earn my vote. Hillary Clinton is a disaster, and the way you earn my vote and the way you earn, I think, the votes of millions of conservatives is that you defend freedom and the Constitution. You focus on issues and substance that matters to us. And that's what I was trying to do in Cleveland, and that's what I've been trying to do since then.
It is Senator Ted Cruz. You know, Ted, I voted for you. I had your dad on several times. I had you on, I think, 30 times. You completely annihilated Trump and everybody else in the state of Texas. You had an unbelievable run as a candidate, and you made the pledge early on in that first debate that you would, in fact, back the eventual Republican nominee. And it took a little while, but here we are, and you are backing the eventual nominee. Tougher decision to do the speech the way you did in July, or a tougher decision to come out in the last week or so in your support for Trump?
Well, I mean, the last several months have been a time that I've spent a great deal of time thinking and praying and searching my conscience.
Yeah.
And I think an awful lot of voters have been in the same situation I am, that this election is a difficult election. These choices to determine what is the right thing to do, I think a lot of people are struggling with. For me, what I decided and what I announced last week is that my conscience leads me. In November, I'm going to vote for the Republican nominee for Donald Trump.
Right.
Really for two reasons. Number one, as you noted, I gave my word. I stood on stage and raised my hand and said I would support the Republican nominee. And my conscience tells me I need to honor my word, so I am doing that. And number two, although I have had significant disagreements with Donald that I have outlined at great detail in the past, at the end of the day, one of two people are going to be president, either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And it is abundantly clear that Hillary Clinton is manifestly unfit to be president. And I wrote a long Facebook post detailing my reasons. I would encourage your listeners to read it and lay out, read the reasons I gave why I'm going to be voting for the Republican nominee. And I went through 6 different policy areas where the policies that Hillary is advocating would do profound damage, and the policies that Donald is advocating, if implemented, would have a significant and positive impact. And number one on that list, and the most important to me, is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court very much hangs in the balance, and all of our basic rights, whether the Second Amendment, whether free speech, whether religious liberty, every one of them is hanging in the balance. We know that Hillary Clinton would put left-wing ideologues on the court, and Trump has promised to appoint justices, quote, in the mold of Scalia.
And if that happens, then we're okay. Well, what's interesting is I hear a little bit of trepidation from people, not you necessarily, but from people. They say, boy, I hope Trump does what he says he's going to do. But we know darn well, Ted, what Hillary will do. I mean, there's no question there, right?
You're exactly right. What I am certain of is that Hillary Clinton would follow through on her entire left-wing agenda,
Yeah.
and it would be incredibly damaging. And, on the question of follow-through, there was a big development. Some critics have said, well, gosh, Ted, what's different now than in Cleveland? And several things are different. I mean, what we have seen, I think, is Donald focusing more on the issues I was emphasizing, freedom and defending the Constitution. So last week, Donald came out strongly in support of stopping Obama's giveaway of the Internet to Russia and China and Iran. That's a fight I've been leading in the Senate, and Donald came out strongly in support of that. Hillary is on the other side, supporting giving away the Internet. And then on Friday, Trump came out with a list of 21 names of potential Supreme Court nominees. And number one at the top of the list was Senator Mike Lee, who would make an extraordinary justice, would make a remarkable replacement for Justice Scalia.
I know that was a big deal for you.
It was a big deal, and even bigger is that on Friday, Donald Trump committed that the only people he would consider for the court were the 21 names on the list. They'd never said that before. Previously, they'd put out a list, but they'd said, well, these are among the people we'll consider, but
Right.
with nothing constraining them. On Friday, there was an explicit promise, these 21 and these 21 only will be the ones considered for the court. That was a big deal to me and to those of us who care about the Constitution and Bill of Rights, and that commitment was a big part in helping get me to a yes.
It is Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican senator from the great state of Texas, former presidential candidate. Ted, you brought up the giveaway of the Internet. Have you been to China? I've been to China.
I have.
Okay, so I went there and we adopted our daughter Gia, who's now 7 years old. And while there, I Googled Tiananmen Square. Did you ever try that?
I did not.
What's interesting is that Tiananmen Square was one guy died, unfortunately, because of an accidental discharge of a gun and a ricochet off the pavement. Nothing else to see here. So if we give away the Internet to China and Iran and these other closed nations and let them control the message and hide the truth, that's what we're going to see. I'm not making that up. Tiananmen Square was just some day in China. No big deal.
You are right, and it is incredibly dangerous. The way the Internet operates right now is that control of top-level domain names, things like .com and .org and .gov, is administered by a nonprofit organization called ICANN on a contract with the U.S. Department of Commerce, and the federal government has oversight of that. Now, the great thing about that is that because in the United States we're bound by the First Amendment, the Internet here in America has no censorship. There's nobody who decides, is this okay for you to see and this is not okay for you to see. What Obama intends to do, and he intends to do it in just a week on October 1st, is hand over control of the Internet so that the federal government no longer has oversight, ensuring free speech, ensuring no censorship, but instead hand it over to an international consortium of stakeholders that include countries like Russia and China and Iran, all nations that are not our friends and all nations that are repressive and want to censor speech on the Internet. And I think it is profoundly foolish and profoundly dangerous.
We're almost out of time, and I appreciate the time. Can Obama be stopped, yes or no?
On the Internet giveaway, yes, if the House of Representatives acts, but I'll tell you, unfortunately, the Senate leadership decided this week to give in to Obama on the giveaway of the Internet.
Stunning.
I have a lot of support from both senators and members of the House. John Thune and Chuck Grassley and Chairman Upton and Chairman Goodlatte in both the House and Senate were supporting me, but our leadership made the decision to give in to Obama's demands. I think it was a serious, serious mistake.
Last question very quickly. I know that this just happened a little while ago. Am I hearing this right, Ted, that all we have to do is ask somebody who wants to be a refugee to the United States from the war-torn ISIS area? We just have to take their word for it that they're good people?
Sadly, that was the testimony we heard today. The Senate Judiciary Committee, the Obama administration testified that they will let people in just on their representation. There can be no evidence.
Stunning.
And they'll just take their word for it. And the willful blindness of this administration is beyond words. Today, at that hearing, a Democratic senator, Senator Al Franken, said we shouldn't even ask refugees from Syria if they're Muslim.
Wow.
Now, mind you, we're facing radical Islamic terrorism, and this administration is so blinded that it won't even ask basic questions about radicalization and jihad, and that is endangering American citizens. We need to end that willful blindness. That is a fight I am very much doing everything I can to lead from the Senate.
Mind-boggling. It's Senator Ted Cruz, Republican, the great state of Texas. Ted, we supported you. We're really glad that you came out and said, I've got to support the person that we have the best chance to put a good face in the Supreme Court for generations to come. And we honor your integrity. You said you'd do it, and you're doing it. Let's talk again very soon, my friend.
I look forward to it, Pags. God bless.
All right, and back at you. We're going to be right back on the Joe Pags Show after this. Stay here.